Uncle Greg looked across the table at me and said, "You've done nothing for this family, Hannah. Sign the waiver and walk away, or we'll make sure you get nothing." The whole room went quiet. My aunt, my cousins, the family lawyer, all of them staring, waiting for me to fold. My hands shook as I held the paper. But what they didn't know was, I'd been ready for this moment for months. My name's Hannah Lewis. I'm 26 years old, and for 4 years I worked at my family's commercial real estate company doing the work nobody else wanted to touch. Bookkeeping, filing, client follow-ups, property records, the invisible stuff that kept the business running. My grandmother co-founded that company. She raised me after my parents passed when I was 12. She promised me I'd always have a place there, that I'd be taken care of. But 6 months ago, she died, and everything changed. My cousins, Brent and Jenna, they barely showed up to the office, maybe twice a month. But they had titles, director this, manager that. They drove new cars and posted vacation photos every other week. I wasn't flashy like them. I didn't have the wardrobe or the social media presence. But I had something they didn't expect. I paid attention. Has your family ever treated you like this? Share your story below. Tell me where you're watching from. I read every single comment. 2 weeks after Gran's funeral, Uncle Greg called a meeting. He said it was about business transition. I thought maybe they were finally going to formalize my role, give me a real title, maybe even acknowledge the 4 years I'd put in. I showed up at his house, big home office with dark wood furniture and framed awards on the walls. Brent and Jenna were already there. So was Aunt Diane, and a lawyer I didn't recognize. Uncle Greg didn't waste time. "We're restructuring," he said. "Your grandmother was sentimental, but this is a business." I nodded, waiting. Then Brent leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Yeah, no offense, Hannah, but you were basically Gran's charity project." I felt my stomach drop. Uncle Greg slid a document across the table. "This is a one-time payment of $5,000, he said. "In exchange, you sign away any claim to the business or the estate." I stared at the paper. "I worked here for 4 years, I said. "Gran told me I'd have a share." Aunt Diane laughed, not a warm laugh, a cold one. "She said a lot of things, sweetie, but there's nothing in writing. You were an assistant. That's all." Jenna looked at me like I was a kid who didn't understand how the world worked. "You really thought you were getting a piece of this?" she said. "Hannah, come on." My throat tightened. I could feel tears trying to push through, but I wouldn't let them. "Can I see the will?" I asked. Uncle Greg waved his hand like I was wasting his time. "It's handled. You can sign this, or you can leave with nothing." The room went silent again. Everyone watching, expecting me to cry, to beg, to give in. Instead, I stood up. "I'm not signing this," I said. Uncle Greg's face went red. "You'll regret this." I walked out. My legs felt like water, but I didn't stop. The next day, I went to the office to grab my things. My key card didn't work. I stood there at the glass door, swiping it over and over. Nothing. Then I saw the security guard walking toward me. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "I just need to get my stuff," I said. "My notebooks, You don't work here anymore." I turned around and Uncle Greg was standing there, arms crossed. "Don't make this embarrassing, Hannah," he said. I left, in front of coworkers I'd known for years, people I'd helped, people who wouldn't even look at me. A week later, my cousin had a birthday dinner. I almost didn't go, but my great-aunt called and insisted. She didn't know what had happened, so I showed up. Big Italian restaurant, long table, extended family everywhere. I sat near the end, quiet. Then Uncle Greg's voice cut across the table. Hannah thought she deserved part of the company, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Can you believe that? A few people laughed nervously. Brent jumped in. Gran spoiled her. She never actually earned anything. Aunt Diane shook her head. She filed papers, Hannah. That's not building a business. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, my face burning, while my own family tore me apart in front of everyone. Nobody defended me, not one person. 2 days later, I got a text from a former coworker. I'm so sorry, Hannah. They're using all your client lists. Brent just got promoted to Director of Client Relations. They're acting like you were never here. That's when I found out they'd taken credit for a major deal I'd coordinated. A deal I'd spent 3 months sourcing and following up on. Brent's face was all over the company newsletter. My work. His name. I sat in my apartment that night, staring at my laptop. I could have given up. But instead, I opened my personal hard drive, and I started going through everything I'd backed up over the years. Emails, spreadsheets, client records, contracts I'd flagged and filed. Then I found it. A thread of emails from my grandmother, sent over the course of 18 months. One of them said, Hannah, you've been the heart of this company. I'm making sure you get 25%. You've earned it. Another one detailed the work I'd done on a property acquisition. Another one talked about her plans for my future in the business. She'd put it in writing, not in a will, but in emails. To me, by name. I kept digging. I found financial records showing I'd never been paid like a regular employee. No W-2s. Just random cash payments labeled as gifts. That wasn't how you paid an assistant. That's how you paid family. I'd also saved every project I'd worked on, every client I'd brought in, time-stamped, documented. They thought I was just quiet. They didn't realize I was careful. I didn't know if it would be enough, but I knew I wasn't going to let them erase me, so I called a lawyer. Her name was Diane Campos. She specialized in estate and employment law. I met her at her office, brought everything I had. She went through the emails first, then the financial records, then the project documentation. Finally, she looked up. They're trying to freeze you out, she said. But your grandmother's intent is clear in writing. We can contest this. Even without a formal will? I asked. Intent matters, especially when it's documented. And the fact that they paid you off the books? That helps your case. It shows you weren't just an employee. She agreed to take it on contingency. She believed in it. While I was building my case, my family got more arrogant. Brent posted on social media about growing the family legacy. Uncle Greg told relatives I'd tried to make trouble but gave up. Jenna sent me a text. Glad you finally came to your senses. I didn't respond to any of it. 3 weeks later, they were all served with legal papers. Uncle Greg called me that night. I could hear the fury in his voice. You're suing your own family? Over nothing? I stayed calm. I'm claiming what Gran wanted me to have, I said. See you in court. He hung up. After that, the messages got nasty. Jenna texted, You're going to lose and look pathetic. Brent left a voicemail. You're embarrassing yourself. I didn't reply. Diane prepped me for the courthouse mediation hearing. Stay calm, she said. Let me do the talking. They're going to try to rattle you. The hearing was on a Tuesday morning. I walked into the mediation room and there they were. Uncle Greg, Aunt Diane, Brent, Jenna, and their lawyer, a guy in an expensive suit who looked annoyed to even be there. Uncle Greg whispered to Brent, but I heard it. She's got nothing. This'll be over in 10 minutes. The judge came in, an older woman with sharp eyes. She asked both sides to present their claims. Their lawyer stood first. Your Honor, there is no formal will provision naming Ms. Lewis. She was a low-level assistant. She has no legal standing. Then it was Diane's turn. She stood, calm, prepared. She placed a printed stack of emails on the table. Your Honor, I'd like to present correspondence between the decedent and Ms. Lewis, spanning 18 months. She read one aloud. Hannah, you've been the heart of this company. I'm making sure you get 25%. You've earned it. Uncle Greg's face went pale. Diane continued. She showed the financial records, the inconsistent payments, the lack of W-2s. This demonstrates Ms. Lewis was not treated as a standard employee, but as a family partner. Then came the final move. We also have a signed statement from the company's former accountant who left the firm last year. He confirms that the decedent verbally expressed the same intent to him on multiple occasions. Brent tried to interrupt. That doesn't mean... The judge cut him off. Let her finish. Diane showed the documentation of my client acquisitions, including the deal Brent had taken credit for. This demonstrates clear contribution and intent for ownership stake. Their lawyer stumbled, tried to argue timeline, tried to argue semantics. The judge reviewed the documents in silence. It felt like forever. Then she spoke. This is compelling evidence of intent and contribution. I'm recommending settlement mediation proceed with the assumption of a partial ownership stake. Uncle Greg panicked. Your Honor, this is a family matter. The judge looked at him. Her expression didn't change. Then you should have treated her like family. I felt my hands stop shaking. Diane leaned over and whispered, We've got them. An hour later, we reached a settlement outside the courtroom. I was awarded a 20% ownership stake, plus back pay for 4 years of unpaid work. They had 2 options: formalize my role in the company or buy me out at fair market value. I chose the buyout. I didn't want to work with them. I didn't want to see them every day. I just wanted what was mine. The settlement was 6 figures. Uncle Greg wouldn't even look at me. Jenna sat in silence. Brent tried to say something as I was leaving. We didn't think... I cut him off. No, you didn't. I walked out of that courthouse with Diane beside me. No dramatic speech, no gloating. Just quiet strength. For 4 years, I'd waited for them to see me. That day, I realized I didn't need them to. I saw myself. A month later, I started a new job at a competitor firm, used the settlement money to fund my future, got my own place, started over. I heard through a former coworker that the family business was struggling without the systems I'd built. But I didn't reach out. I didn't gloat. I just moved forward. Their silence didn't hurt me anymore. It freed me. If you've ever had to stand up to family who tried to erase you, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Where are you watching from? I read every single one. Your story matters. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.